A day after the initial 53-man roster broke, the New England Patriots are making more cuts and more surprising cuts at that. Now, yesterday when the roster dropped, we saw that the New England Patriots were keeping 8 wide receivers. Some people expected they would keep 7. I thought they would keep 6, and now that is exactly what they've done. But the guys that they have cut may be a little bit controversial. Now, according to multiple reports here, I'm talking Adam Schefter, Mike Reese, the list goes on and on. The New England Patriots are moving on from Kendrick Bourne and 4th-round pick from just last year in the 2024 draft in Javon Baker. Man, I know you Javon Baker truthers right now are absolutely punching the air. Some of you are probably deleting your comments that you left on my videos, so I tried to tell you guys. But starting off here with Kendrick Bourne, because I think that was one of the more surprising moves, because I was somebody who had the Patriots keeping Kendrick Bourne, but I had them putting him on the short-term injured reserve. The team can have 2 spots for that. They only used one on Jelani Tavai. They kept Kendrick Bourne in the initial 53, but they elected to not put him on the injured reserve, which to me, based off of his injury concerns as of late, plus him still coming back from that ACL injury in 2023, I thought it was a little bit weird. And Mike Reese had the same thought. Why would the Patriots put Kendrick Bourne on the final 53, not on the IR, and then release him a day later? And the reason for that was because of trade talks. Now, Andrew Callahan comes in here and says, the Patriots inquired yesterday about Bourne taking a pay cut, but were told no. So it sounds like originally the Patriots had a potential offer on the table for Kendrick Bourne. That fell through. Then they went to KB and said, look, we would love to keep you on the team. You might not be one of our best guys. You're not going to be one of our top 4 starting wide receivers, but we would love to keep you on the team as a depth piece and get you on the field in a rotational role, but not at the price that you are going to have to be paid at in 2025, which makes a lot of sense. If KB is not going to be used as one of the Patriots' top 5 wide receivers, then there's no reason to pay him the amount that he was going to be making in 2025. KB says no, and that's why we are where we are. Now, Andrew Callahan also adds that he's in the second year of his 3-year, $19.5 million contract with $5.5 million in guaranteed money. Bourne requested his release after failed trade talks with Minnesota. Now, that's another talk that we had just a couple of weeks ago during joint practice with Minnesota is there somebody on Minnesota the Patriots could potentially look to trade for? And is there somebody on this receiver room that Minnesota could look to trade for on the New England Patriots? I mean, we mentioned Kendrick Bourne, we mentioned Javon Baker, we mentioned Jalen Polk, and it looks like Minnesota did have interest in doing that, but for some reason, the two could not meet on sides. And what this tells me is that the reasoning behind this was not anything to do with draft compensation, because the Patriots just released Kendrick Bourne anyway. So even if Minnesota offered them a 7th round pick, a pick swap, that would have been significantly better than if the Patriots just straight up released KB. So maybe it came down to Minnesota wanted the Patriots to take on some of that cap hit. Maybe the Patriots just wanted to do right by Kendrick Bourne and allow him to pick where he was going to go. But I expect multiple teams to be interested in Kendrick Bourne. I think Minnesota, now that they don't have to give up anything for him, I think they are a team that needs help at wide receiver. They got a good look at him, obviously not on the field, but they still know of him and what he can bring to the team. And the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, this is one that I've talked about for a while. I talked about this even last night when I broke down the initial 53, is that I could see a world in which San Francisco wants to reunite with KB. KB started his career there. There's familiarity there. And the wide receiver room in San Francisco has a lot of questions right now. Brandon Ayuk, not expected to be ready for week 1. Ricky Pearsall entering year 2. He got shot. He didn't even play a full year last year. And then some other, issues up and down that depth chart there for San Francisco. I mean, you obviously traded Deebo Samuel during the offseason too, so at least getting Kendrick Bourne allows you to reunite with somebody that has experience with your team within your system. The other thing too is that when the Patriots almost traded for Brandon Ayuk last offseason, part of that trade package included Kendrick Bourne going back to San Francisco. So I think it's going to be easy for KB to find a job. For me, it sucks to see him go because he's a fan favorite. I think what KB brings off the field at this point in his career is more valuable than what he brings on the field, but I do still think that KB could have been one of this team's best 6 or 7 wide receivers. Again, wouldn't have been a starter for me, but a guy that would have been in the rotation. This wide receiver group is inevitably going to deal with injuries. This wide receiver group for the Patriots in themselves has a lot of questions. Guys are unproven. Guys deal with injury problems. So having a veteran like Kendrick Bourne who knows the Josh McDaniels system, who has experience with the Patriots and Drake May, I think it would have been beneficial. But again, if he wants to be released, Mike Vrabel put it best himself. If somebody breaks up with you, you kind of got to respect their decision, right? You're not going to beg them to stay. And that's exactly what the Patriots did. A little bit surprised in a way that KB did request a trade, just because he's always been that type of player who he never spoke out. He was never upset with the team. He was never angry with the team. He was never vocal about his lack of playing time. He always did what the team asked of him. And he always wanted to be on the New England Patriots. And the fact that since he got here in 2021 and we haven't been good since then, and he's been with a new offensive coordinator pretty much every single year in his Patriots career, but he still wanted to stay here in the past, to me, just surprised me that it came down to this and he ultimately wanted to be cut. I did have hope for Kendrick Bourne too, because under Josh McDaniels in 2021, Kendrick Bourne had one of his best statistical seasons, went for about 800 yards, would have peaked about, 900, close to 1,000 if he had played an entire season. And I was really excited to see what that matchup could be. I mean, again, you look before the team left for kind of that summer vacation before training camp started, at the end of minicamp, they said, who are you going to miss the most? And Kendrick Bourne said he was going to miss Josh McDaniels the most. I mean, this is a guy that was taking on that veteran leadership role with Kyle Williams and some of these younger guys. And it's going to suck to see Kendrick Bourne go from a fan perspective. But at the end of the day, he's 30 years old and he just hasn't looked the same coming back from that injury. Now, as for Javon Baker, look, I was a little bit surprised within itself that he made the final roster. And I said this yesterday, I was in a weird spot with Javon Baker to where I would have been surprised if he made it, but I also would have been a little bit surprised if he didn't. I was never as high on Javon Baker this offseason as a lot of other fans were. I know there's a lot of Javon Baker truthers out there that were diehard for this guy, that he needed time. And Julian Edelman took time to develop, which means that we should give more time to Javon Baker, even though those two instances are not comparable in the slightest. I said that if they release Javon Baker, I think they'll get him back on the practice squad. And it sounds like Mike Reese thinks the same thing, because he says the Patriots are planning to release wide receiver Javon Baker per a source. If Baker clears waivers, he could return to the practice squad. Now, yesterday, when we broke down the initial 53-man roster, I'd also included the fact that, look, yes, Baker is on this roster right now, but do not be surprised if he is not on this roster by the end of the 2025 season. Little did I know he wasn't going to be on the roster within the next 24 hours. I thought that Baker, although, again, he made the initial 53, was player 50 to 53, meaning that if it came down to it and they wanted to make an addition somewhere on the team, but they had to release a player, that Javon Baker would be a guy that was in jeopardy of that happening. Again, what has Javon Baker done to where he, one, deserves a 53-man roster spot, but two, what has Javon Baker done that makes us think that he won't be reverted back to the practice squad? Because does he have to go through waivers? Yes. Every single team's going to go down the list from worst to first from the 2024 season, and they'll have an opportunity to claim him. But if they claim him, it has to be on their active roster. You cannot claim a player and put him on your practice squad, meaning that as long as no one claims him, he will revert back to the Patriots practice squad. And I don't see a world in which Javon Baker says, no, I don't want to be on the Patriots practice squad. I want to go to another team's practice squad. So ultimately, I do think he will be back on the PS. I do think that the Patriots will elevate him at times this season to be a gunner on special teams. But I said this when I did my roster prediction. I said this yesterday when we broke down the final roster. If you are going to keep a guy on the 53-man roster that is only a gunner, no depth there on offense, no depth on defense, then he has to be one of the best in the league. He has to be Matthew Slater, Justin Bethel-esque, to where you're so good that we don't even want you playing on another side of the football because you are a special teams ace to our team. And while Javon Baker was good on special teams, I don't think he was that good. And I think if the Patriots want a guy who's going to mainly play on special teams, then they needed a guy who's also going to allow them to have depth on either side of the football. Yes, you're going to be a gunner for us on special teams, but if we need you to rep in as a pass rusher on the D-line, you can do so. If we need you to take reps in at wide receiver because we're dealing with injuries, you can do so. And Javon Baker was a liability to that New England Patriots offense. Didn't look good in blocking. That was one part to his game I liked. And this offseason, it looked very inconsistent. He still can't catch the ball. He still can't get separation. And we've only ever seen Javon Baker go against 2, 3s, and even some 4s. We've never seen Javon Baker go against number 1 defensive backs, go up against a starting caliber defense. So if he's struggling now against backups, what would he look like when it comes to going up against starters? Heading into the final preseason game against the Giants, where Javon Baker did not look good in the slightest, his Patriots career stats were 27 targets, 7 receptions, 81 yards, 0 touchdowns, and a 25% catch percentage. He is now below a 25% catch percentage throughout his Patriots career against backups. I don't mind if they keep him on the practice squad, allow him to continue to develop, see if there's anything that Mike Vrabel and this coaching staff can do throughout the season. But right now, the regular season is starting. This is not about developing guys who don't deserve a roster spot anymore. This is about winning games. This is about the team developing. It's not the offseason. It's put up or shut up time now. And Mike Vrabel wants to win games, just like I want to win games, just like you guys want to win games. And you can't have guys on the field that are a liability and don't help the football team as much as humanly possible. So if Javon Baker's back on the practice squad, I'm all for it. I wouldn't be mad at that, but I've been saying this and I've gotten a lot of flack for it. But Baker has not done anything to deserve a 53-man roster spot. Loved the pick when it came out. Coming out of the draft, I gave that pick an A-. Loved it. But I'm also being realistic when I say as a wide receiver, he's a liability and he has not done anything outside of some flashes in training camp to say, yeah, that's a guy that deserves to be one of the receivers in the rotation. But this is where I kick it off to you guys, man. What are your thoughts on the New England Patriots releasing fan favorite Kendrick Bourne and 4th-round pick from just last year's draft in Javon Baker? Let me know in the comment section below. Leave a big like on the video. Subscribe to the channel for all your New England Patriots news. I know some of you are going to be asking, what are my thoughts on Mr. Tommy DeVito back here in New England? As a former Italian, let me tell you, I love it, but we are going to break it down in its own video. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But again, let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. Sound off, and I'll see you in the next one. Go Pats.